Hi, I'm Vicky from Spellbound, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do single St Petersburg chain. So to get started, I've got 3 colours of size 8 seed beads. I've just picked 3 strongly contrasting colours for the sake of the video. I do appreciate they're not everybody's cup of tea, but you'll be able to see what's going on with the contrasting colours. I've got a size 10 needle, and I'm using some white Nymo. I'm working with about 1.5 meters, but what's important is that you work with a comfortable length of thread. If you prefer a shorter length of thread, that's absolutely fine. Don't feel like you've got to work with masses of thread at a time. And I've tied a keeper bead, which is just a contrasting colour bead that will be removed when I get to the end of my bracelet, so that I can attach a clasp with the tail that's left. So that's just there. That's just been tied on with a single knot, just so that it's easy to remove. So let's get started. So I'm going to use the silver as the main colour, and then I've got the blue and the green as the turning colours. So we're going to start by picking up 6 of the main colour. So it's 4, 5, 6, and we'll bring those down to the end of the thread. And then what you're going to do is leave aside the last 2 beads that we've just put on, and you're going to go up through these middle 2 in the same direction as before. So bring them, it's essentially a square stitch, so you're going to bring those 2 beads to sit side by side. We're then going to pick up the first contrast bead there, and we're going to come back down through 3 beads, so the 2 that we've just joined to plus the 1 below. There we go. And then for the start of the next stitch, we're going to pick up one of the other contrasting beads, in this case the blue, and we're going to go up through those 2 beads there. So you've got something that looks a bit like that. Now, if you use different size of beads for different portions of this, so if you used, say, 10s for the main and a 15 here and a facet here, you will get a different look. But just for the sake of the video, we're just going to use all the same bead so you can see the principle. There will be a project coming to follow this one that will use a variation in sizes, so you will be able to see that in the future. But just for today, we're just sticking to the one size of bead. Okay, so to make the next stitch, we're going to pick up 4 of the main colour, come down, and you're going to go back up through the first 2 that you put on. Again, sit side by side, pick up your turn, back down through 3, pick up what will be the inner bead, and up through 2. And that really is all there is to St Petersburg. So again, pick up 4, through 2, up through 2, pick up the turn and come back. Now you could of course use the same colour bead all the way through this, which could look quite dramatic, particularly if you change the shape of the bead that you were using. You know, if you used a 3mm crystal bicone up the centre, and maybe I don't know, say did it all in black, and we'll use a jet bicone and then a matte black seed bead, and you know, maybe a sparkly 15 or something, it could look very dramatic. So there we go, and come back, and we're just going to keep on going like this until we've got the length of the bracelet that we want. So this is single St Petersburg, so all you it's very repetitive. It's quite easy to get into quite a good rhythm. because I'm using size 8s, it's also growing very quickly, which is a good thing. Obviously if you use a smaller bead, it'll take a little bit longer to get to length, but we'll keep going a little bit more. And 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Just make sure when you do this that you're snugging your beads up so you don't have any gaps showing, and you don't want anything loose, but you want to make sure that your tension's even. Obviously if you pull too tightly it will start to curve, so just take your time with it and make sure that it's sitting how you want to. Don't forget, you're the boss of the beads. If something doesn't look right, take it out, take your needle off, pull your thread back, take the beads out. Don't try and fix it, because inevitably when that doesn't quite work, there we go, look, just make sure that gets pulled down. If the fix doesn't work and you have to do something else, then inevitably your thread path will have got very tangled and you'll end up having to cut your work up. So just take your time with it. Check what you're doing. Okay, pick up one and up. So here we go. Take your time to make sure they're all pulled up nice and tight. If you've got any beads that are a particularly odd shape as well, if you've got any beads that are much fatter or much thinner than the rest of the beads that you're using, just think about whether you're going to use them. Just discard them, save them for a bead soup, use them in if you do bead embroidery, something like that, because that's where fat beads and thin beads come in really useful. Or if you're doing increasing and decreasing, if you're doing tubular peyote or something like that. Just but for some projects you just want to make sure the beads are all matching as nicely as they can be. So here we go. Keep going. And you can see already that that's going to make quite a nice dainty little bracelet. Works nicely as a chain as well. For a pendant or something like that. You know, if you join the two pieces together with the pendant in the middle, that can look really quite nice. So I'll just keep going. Oop. So, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm holding the two beads that we've just passed through again next to the beads that we want them to sit next to, just so that it stays nice and tight. So you'll find a way of working that works for you. This is the one I find works for me. So, up and again. Oop. There you go, it's just got tangled. Just take your time to untangle and up through two. Three, four. And keep going. So now you can, when you get to the right length for your bracelet, you can have a think about what sort of clasp you want to put on. You could do a simple bead and loop fastening. So you could use something like a 6mm facet or a 6mm round. That's the wrong step. There we go. That's what happens when you're talking and not concentrating. You can use do a bead and loop fastener. So you could do a 6mm round. You could do an 8mm round. You could use an oval bead. You could use, if you prefer a metal clasp, then you can use a more traditional lobster or a bolt ring on the end as well. So you've got lots of different options. I think a beaded clasp might be quite nice with this one because it'll keep in with the way the rest of the bracelet looks. I mean, with this one, because I've got the silver up the middle, you might get away with changing the colour, with using a metal clasp, because it'll tone in with what you're doing. But you do have options. Ooh. There we go, turning into all fingers and thumbs. So how are we getting on? Ooh. We're about halfway there, I think. So we'll keep going. Oh, only one bead. Two. Up. I think this might be one of those stitches that when it's written down it looks quite complicated, but when you actually see it being done or do it, you suddenly go, oh, it's not that bad. I'm going to use this everywhere. Back through 3 and up. You could do a nice ombre finish with this, fading along the diagonals with a bit of planning. Okay, so that's our length of St Petersburg chain there. So that's a length of single St Petersburg chain. You just keep going until you're ready to add your clasp. So it's that simple, that straightforward. What you can do now is you can join this onto a join a second piece of beadwork onto this one and make double St Petersburg chain.